Dogumentary TV, producing the best breed documentaries on YouTube.
My name's Elisabeth Jensen. We are in Lexington, Kentucky at my husband and I's farm, Evans Mill Cattle Company. We breed Black Angus cattle and Sivas Kangal Guardian Dogs. I'm on the board of directors of the Kangal Dog Club of America. I first learned about Kangals back in the early 90s. I was working for an American company in Turkey, and we were doing some manufacturing in the Sivas area where the Kangals are originally from. And I was given a Kangal by the people in that city, a Kangal puppy, which I couldn't keep at that time because I was traveling all over the world and working, and had always wanted at some point in my life to have an opportunity to have a Kangal. The mission of our club is to preserve the integrity of the Kangal breed in the United States and to encourage responsible breeding. Our first priority is to maintain or to breed sound, healthy dogs. And we require that all of our official breeders have hip x-rays on our dogs, that we microchip the dogs, that we have DNA testing for all of our dogs to keep track of where they are and to make sure that they're up to standard. We require that all breeders have a contract with the people that they sell the puppies to make sure that they're doing making responsible choices in where the dogs are placed, because they're not easy dogs to manage, and people have been interested in them for the wrong reason. So we really encourage all of our breeders to make really good choices in placing all of their puppies. The Kangal is an ancient livestock guardian dog from the Sivas region of Turkey. They have been bred for hundreds of years to protect sheep from wolves and bears, large predators. They were also family dogs, though, and have been raised with shepherds, even though they are comfortably being out in the pasture or on the range with your animals. They do need some kind of human connection, and that's partly why they've been so valued and treasured in Turkey for so long, because of the connection that the shepherds established with their dogs. Our farm is a little over 90 acres. We are very close to a nature sanctuary and another very big farm, and close to the Kentucky River. So we have a lot of wildlife here other than our own cattle. It's gently rolling. We have 2 creeks that run through the farm, and we have a lake here on the farm, and a lot of grass and a lot of rock. We primarily bought the Kangals the first time because of the black vultures. So we have a growing problem in this part of the country with the black vultures, because they smell the afterbirth of the calves, and they come and attack the calves right after they're born, and they will peck their eyes out, or often they don't kill them, but you have to put the animals down because they're so hurt or disfigured from the vultures. And they're federally protected, so you're not supposed to shoot them. So we use the Kangals as kind of a natural predator management. They scare the birds away, and we do have a lot of coyotes. They're not as big of a problem for cattle. Most of our cows are older and are not first-time mamas, so that they're more protective, and they kind of group together when there's any kind of dogs or other kind of coyotes or foxes or anything out there, but the dogs have killed quite a few of them, much to our neighbors' dismay, because the coyotes don't come on our property anymore. They mostly are on our neighbor's property. Coyotes learn fast, and by having just a dog here that will now bark, they usually will go and find a much easier prey. Kangals are such an amazing creature. They're much more than just a dog. They're ancient souls, and for hundreds of years they lived in the mountains in eastern Turkey, protecting sheep from wolves and from bears. And I like to think that our farm here is more similar to the terrain that the Kangal actually historically was raised on. We have hills, and they can sit on top of the hill and watch the farm and all the animals from a high point. But it doesn't have to be rolling hills. A lot of people that have Kangals, you see pictures of them all the time sitting on top of hay bales or climbing on the top of the roof of something to get a high viewpoint so they can keep an eye on everything. If they're not naturally on the top of the hill, they'll find a way to get to the highest point to keep an eye on their herd or their flock. My husband grew up in the south central part of Kentucky on a cattle farm. His father was a large animal vet, and he had cattle until he went away to college, and I grew up always wanting to have a horse farm. I came to Kentucky wanting to be in the horse industry and wanting to have a horse farm. And we decided after we got married that cattle was probably easier with both of our jobs and work schedule. It was easier to have a cattle farm than a horse farm. I start every day about 5:30 and go out every morning. We have cows in 3 different fields here on the farm, and the first thing that I do every morning is go check each field, make sure all the cows that are there are supposed to be there, check if we have any babies from the night before, and look at which cows are close to calving. Make sure nobody's gotten hurt or nothing unusual has happened in the field overnight. Although if someone had gotten injured over the night, or if there was a calf born, usually the dogs let us know. We'll hear a little bit of barking. Luckily, we've just finished calving season for the spring. So I always make sure that the dogs see me checking the cows first so that they understand that that's what our priority is here at the farm, and that's their responsibility. And we do our work first, and if all of the cows are fine in the morning, then I go and feed the dogs. We go back to the little run-in shed. It's actually a horse run-in shed, but we've adapted it for our dogs. And they have a place there where they can eat and have water, and the cows can't get into it. They can have their space when they need it, but it's also open enough so that they can keep an eye on their herd while they're inside. The Kangals are used for a variety of different kind of livestock. Some are more adaptable than others. Historically, they've been used for sheep. We use them for cattle because of the black vultures, and it's easy because the calves are so large. It's much easier to just let the dogs outside with them from a young age, and we have had older dogs that all of our young dogs can be mentored from, so they learn how to behave around the cows, not to chase the calves. When a new baby is born, we make sure that a new dog that hasn't seen a baby before, that we walk around the calves and they understand, they get to smell them, and we keep them on a leash so that they don't attack them or try and scare them or upset the mother until they learn how to behave around the calves. But they really pick that up pretty easy from other dogs. It's similar with sheep, but one of the challenges is they're so big, and you can't just put them with a new herd and assume that they're going to be okay without any kind of supervision. They really need supervision until they've been through a calving season or a lambing season and understand how gentle they have to be with the small newborn calves or lambs or whatever it might be. A lot of people use them with birds, with fowl. That's a little more challenging. It's not really natural for a Kangal to protect a bird. And they don't realize how strong they are, and they might be trying to play with a chicken, and the chicken will peck back at it in defense, and then it can get out of control from there. But they are adaptable to lots of different kind of livestock. It just doesn't come naturally. You have to, each different livestock you introduce has to take time and to learn about how they can handle and how they behave around different. Turkey primarily just has sheep. There has been a very small beef industry there. Historically, the predators are wolves and bears, primarily wolves, large predators. Kangals are very protective, and they will defend their herd and do whatever they need to do. Their primary defense, or their first line of defense, is barking. They have a very strong, deep bark, and if the potential predator is not deterred by bark, then they will attack. They're very large dogs. They have a very strong bite force. They can be very, very protective. We don't use the typical Turkish spike collars here because we don't have the kind of predators that the dog would need to be defended against. We don't have bears or wolves here, and also because the dogs are playing with each other, particularly our young dogs. They do a lot of play fighting. That's how they learn, and we wouldn't want them to actually hurt each other. One of the values of the Kangal is their instinct and their ability to sense a predator. Kangals can be capable of defending a herd of livestock against mountain lions, wolves, but it's not a job that they can do on their own. It's not a job that one Kangal could do. You need to really have a balance of size and number of predators that are out there and make sure that you have a pack that works well together, that's alert, and that's old enough. They need to be at least 2 years old before you can put them in a situation where they would encounter such large predators. I think the Kangals work better in working pairs or packs rather than individually, partly because they're outside alone all the time, and the companionship, I think, is an important issue for the dogs when they're outside. But also when you have a pair, one dog can stay with the herd while the other dog patrols, and particularly if they hear a noise or see something, one can run off and check it out while the other one stays with the herd and tries to keep the herd together. I think the best combination is one female and two neutered males. They can cover the most ground and stay the most focused on their work in that kind of relationship, but I do think not working them alone you have a much better success rate. We've found that it's easier to maintain packs with neutered males than males that are intact because they tend to stay more focused on their job, they tend to wander less. You have the less risk of unwanted litters showing up because you might have a male that gets out or someone else that gets in. And when you have a farm and you're managing your own livestock and managing multiple dogs, it's just one less challenge that you have to deal with every day. We don't neuter our dogs until they're 2 years old. And I think by that time they've developed enough. When you're trying to run numbers of dogs and have unaltered males, they can be more dangerous. It's a balancing act. The UKC is the official registrar of the Kangal breed. The Kangal Dog Club of America has a great relationship with them. They allow us to be completely responsible for the standard of our dogs. We're also allowed to approve dogs that are imported from other countries. They will accept the KIF, the Turkish standard, and the FCI international pedigrees with our approval for UKC registration. We probably see 6 or 7 new dogs being imported to the United States every year. One of our biggest challenges for the Kangal registry is the small gene pool that's in the United States right now. So we're very happy to be able to allow dogs imported in the United States to be accepted into the UKC registry. The Kangal is a land race. It was very selectively bred for hundreds of years to do a specific job. They were selected for size, for temperament, for strength, but color. Color has also been a big part of the Kangal breed. There are some stories or anecdotally that they pick the lighter dogs because you could see them at night, that you could tell them from predators. But that has just been the history and the tradition of the dog. They've always been a tan color with a black face, black ears. They don't accept any brindle, any white above their elbows or white on their face. It has just been selectively maintained that way for many, many years. The Kangal standard is for females 28 to 30 inches tall, and males 30 inches to 32 inches tall. They should be longer than they are tall by standard. The females should be between 90 and 120 pounds, and the males should be between 110 and 145 pounds. Historically, there has not been a disqualification for dogs who are too large, but the Turkish Association recently is encouraging people to breed smaller, and I was told that at the last big show that they had in Sivas that a dog was turned away because he was too big. So they're really encouraging keeping the breed a manageable size. The dogs that are here on the farm are between 120 and 140 pounds, but most of them are very young dogs, between a year and a half old, so they still have quite a bit of growing to do. And the sire lines that we bred our dogs to are very big dogs that are 150, 160 pounds. I'm really happy with the size of our dogs. They're a little bit bigger than the breed standard. Well, I think here in the United States, we need bigger dogs because we still have a very large cattle industry in the United States, a very large sheep industry, and with the release of wolves back into the population again, we need large dogs to protect our livestock, and there is a growing need for those here in the United States. So I think on the American side, we're trying to continue to maintain the size. There was I think a lot of hesitation in Europe because people were crossbreeding the dogs or breeding them too big for reasons other than livestock protection. My personal goal with our farm is to not only maintain the genetics and the quality of the breed, but we are really focused on maintaining the working heritage of the breed. When we have a litter of puppies, I really try and find homes for them that are in a working situation. They are so valuable. They make wonderful pets, but it's so valuable, the wonderful skill that they have for it not to be utilized. And even in Turkey today, there are fewer and fewer farmers who are actually using the dogs to work in the field. And they're more and more being bred for security and for personal companions overseas. And here, we really have a need for them in the United States with the farming industry and the agriculture industry all across the country. And I'd really like our work here at the farm to involve creating good working dogs and teaching people how to use them. I spend a lot of time going to sheep and fiber shows and livestock shows and talking to people about how valuable Kangals can be in working with their livestock and protecting their livestock. with the Kangal Dog Club of America. Our goal is to really preserve the genetics of the breed and make sure that the breeders that are out there are breeding quality dogs and responsible dogs. We do in our organization also have a rescue arm, and the rescue arm of the organization every year receives a lot of calls from people who have gotten Kangals and realized after a year they're just too much dog and are returning back to us to rescue them, or someone who will think that they can breed the dogs and will have a litter of 8 puppies and they'll sell 3 and then have 5 that they have nothing to do with and call us and say, can you take my 5 puppies? They're not easy to place, but we're very careful in the farms and the places that and the homes that we put the dogs in, and always look for happy endings.